Okay, back on the fan as we begin hour 6. Good to have you aboard here at the Montclair Country Club, the Yogi Berra Golf Outing. Been a great day. You heard Roger Clemens, Bobby Mercer, and Yogi Berra amongst others. And here's former mayor of New York City. It's a pleasure to have him with us, Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
Great to be here. What a beautiful day.
Beautiful day. Good to see you, Mayor.
I got to play 18 holes. Unbelievable.
And congratulations, by the way, too.
Oh, thank you very much.
So you've had a nice little run. Yankees playing a little better, a little golf.
Yankees
and
are improving.
And newlywed. You can't beat that.
My honeymoon consisted of going to see Roger try to win his 300th game.
The next day you were there, yes.
The next day I was there. Then he
That's
did
an
it on
understanding
Friday night,
wife.
so I was able to complete my honeymoon.
That's a very understanding wife.
Able to complete my honeymoon with his doing it.
How do you have you sort of? I know you do that great book that did well. I mean, have you sort of gotten politics out of your system? How do you feel?
You never get it out of your system.
How do you feel right now?
Go around.
Can you fill up your days? Is the question.
Oh yeah, too much actually. I'm very busy. I do a lot of lecturing, a lot of speeches. I run a business called Giuliani Partners that does security consulting all over the country for power plants.
And businesses. The NCRA racing, you did a lot of work
we're going to submit our report in August at Saratoga, which is a nice place to submit it.
Beautiful place.
On how to make sure you don't have a scam like they had last year.
Correct.
And basically IT security, we do a lot of that.
Right.
So yeah, I'm very, very busy. I'm going to Vienna this week for the president to a conference on anti-Semitism, 55 countries. And I'm going to lead a delegation of senators and congressmen to try to bring up the issue of anti-Semitism in France and Germany, where it hasn't gotten the attention that it should get. So I'm very, very busy.
You kept him busy.
Now, in fact, actually, I play less golf now than I did when I was the mayor.
Really?
Pre-September 11.
After that,
September
obviously.
11. After that, it was just 24/7. But before that, you could actually work out your schedule a lot. You were in control of your schedule a lot better. So I would sneak off and play golf quite a bit.
Do you have another book coming? Is that what you have?
Yeah, I do. The leadership book is still out, and now we're working on a second book that won't come out for about a year.
Another year, okay.
And our leadership book did very, very well. My gosh, as you
Thank
expected
God.
it would.
Yeah, I did over 1 million copies were sold.
You can't
I think
beat that.
1.1 million so far.
That's tremendous.
That's a tremendous.
And it was like campaigning. I did book signings in about 25 different cities, including in Boston. And I really was wondering how I'd be received in Boston, as being a well-known Yankee fan. And when I walked in, all I saw lined up were about 300 or 400 Yankee hats. And of course, I remembered how many Yankee fans there are in Boston.
Absolutely.
All those kids
go to school up there.
At all the schools up there are from New York, and you have a lot of Yankee fans and a lot of Met fans up in Boston.
Well, after what we all went through, what New York City went through, you kind of became America's mayor. There's no question. You became kind of an American figure, not just a New York figure, to the whole country.
I mean, at the time, I didn't realize that.
You really did?
As it was going on, no, of course not. You were so busy that there was no way to know who you were actually talking to. And now when I talk to people who watched it on television, which makes up most of America, there are a lot of experiences that I didn't have. I mean, they were sitting there watching it happen.
Right.
And I was sort of in the middle of it. And you don't realize when you're going through it who's listening, who isn't listening, who you're affecting.
What time did you get down there that day?
I got down there.
You found out about 8:45 right away. Found out.
I got down there. I was a mile away, heading down there when the second plane hit, and I was there, before the first building came down, and then we were trapped in a building. The police commissioner and I and a group of other people.
You're in a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, right? we were very fortunate.
Didn't your car almost get hit too?
Yeah, and he had to drive away, and then we got trapped in a building. In fact, I was trapped with the police commissioner, the deputy police commissioner, the chief of the department. Had our building gone down, or we had not been able to get out, we would have lost the high command of the police department. But we were able to get out, and we were very fortunate. And I sort of thank God every day, and I owe a lot, to a lot of people.
How many months was it from 9/11 before you got back to a normal day where you actually slept 6 or 8 hours? I mean, it must have been 2 or 3 months, right?
I think it was January 1st, 2002.
Really that long? So it was almost 3 or 4 months.
The day that Mike took over.
The day that Mike Bloomberg took over, I went to his inauguration, and Judith and I, after it was over, we walked to Ground Zero and spent some time there, and then we went away for a few days. And I can remember the first couple of days after I was the mayor, when I would hear a siren, when I got back to New York, I'd start running out the door. I think, okay, it's time for me to go now. And it must take about a month to really get used to the fact that the phone isn't going to ring in the middle of the night, and the sirens don't mean that you have to find out what it was all about. But it was a great job.
Are you amazed now what the schedule you were able to keep when you think about, what you're probably running on pure adrenaline. But, I mean, can you say now, geez, how did I go many days?
I'll tell you something. A few months after, I went down to Tampa to CENTCOM,
right,
at the invitation of General Franks, and I spent a lot of time there. And when it was over with, one of his assistants, a general, took me to the airplane. And this guy had worked every day straight from September 11 to March. So his staff said, if you tell him to take some time off because you worked every day straight, he'll do it. So I said to the General, you got to take some time off. And he said, I can't. I just can't do it. So I said, well, you have to. You got to take a little vacation. And he said, well, you didn't. And I said, well, I had to go a shorter period of time. It was only 4 months. You were 7. and then I said to him, but how do you do it? He said to me, how did you do it? I said, well, I don't know. I really don't know how I did it. You just had to. I said, how do you do it? And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, I drink a lot.
Wow.
And I've never known if it was true or not.
With Rudy Giuliani. In those days, how much did you actually sleep in those first couple of weeks? I mean, did you get more than an hour or two at a time?
Yeah, the first 2 or 3 weeks, probably 2 or 3 hours a night, on and off with the television on, because I thought if the police don't pick it up, or the fire department then let me know if something happened, then they'll have it on television because there were television cameras all over the city. And the first 2 or 3 weeks, the commissioner and I both thought that we'd be attacked again. We thought, well, there's going to be some kind of an additional attack, maybe suicide bombings, maybe chemical, biological attacks. So we were on the alert pretty much for a month and a half. And then the anthrax happened at NBC, and
right.
So we had that to deal with.
Do you think American cities now are pretty well
they're better prepared.
Coordinated?
They're better prepared than they were, 2 years ago. But it's almost impossible. I mean, it's impossible to be completely prepared. Right. I mean, we're so big. There are so many ways to attack us.
So vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean,
if somebody wants to take their own life, they can, and take some other lives with it. They can figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, a country like this. I remember when the Mets came back. They were the first team to come back and play in New York.
Right.
And they had worn the Yankee. They had worn the FDNY hats, yeah. and so I went to the game, and we had an enormous amount of security at that game. I mean, it was, and we were very concerned about it. Then when the Yankees came back and President Bush threw out the first ball at the World Series, those were all situations in which there was a great deal of concern that somebody could, no matter what you do, somebody can find a way to attack you.
I was thinking about this back in February with that terrible fire there in Warwick, Rhode Island. Did that governor call you up to find out how you handled the coordinate?
I actually met with that governor afterwards. No, not at the time, but we talked afterwards. And I think actually, having gone through September 11, a lot of us learned a lot more about how to deal with these.
But he's in leadership. He's got
yeah.
you got those broad shoulders. And I was wondering if he kind of commiserated with you there for a little while.
I did. I thought he did a good job, and I think there have been a couple like that. I think the former governor in Pennsylvania, when they had the miners that were trapped, did an absolutely superb job. You got to be willing to go in and make the decisions, and then take the risk that you're wrong. It's like sometimes when I compare it and talk about it, it's like managing a baseball team.
Right.
You got to make the decision to
and
take the pitcher out.
And live with it.
Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. And some people like to do that, and some people don't.
Well, I think, too, the thing that you had that was a tremendous quality, you have to give Americans, New Yorkers in this case, a sense of security. And every time we saw you in that month or 2 months period, you never felt that you were in panic mode. You felt like everything was going to be under control. Rudy's down there, he'll take care of it. It felt like New York was in good shape despite what happened. And I think that is a quality that everybody has, and you had that, which is very important.
But I also had a great team. I mean, I also had a terrific police commissioner who's now in Iraq trying to straighten out the police situation in Iraq, and he's been there for the last 3 or 4 weeks. I had a terrific fire commissioner, head of emergency services. They were all people with 20, 30 years experience. We had been through 100 emergencies together. So I felt, well, if I make the decision, they're going to implement it in the right way. I know who to give everything to. So you felt a certain degree of confidence that you can handle it.
Now, you have a lot to do, no question. A lot of speeches, books. You got your company. Do you miss running something like a city? Or running a state?
Right now,
or running a country? Or running something?
Right now, I don't. I probably am in a few years. But this is a great period of time to travel, to learn, to do other things. in private life. I mean, it's a nice period of time.
How about the people who say Rudy has to be a governor? He couldn't be a senator because he couldn't get along with all those senators. He's not a consensus maker. He's a general.
Who knows? We'll have to see. I don't know what the future is going to be. I think I'm going to want to go back into politics, but right now I can't even guess.
That'll scare somebody.
Yeah,
yeah, sure will. Hey, Win. How about the Mayor Bloomberg right now?
I like Mike a lot.
He's in a very tough spot. Following your shoes, what's your take on him?
I think that Mike is doing a very, very tough job, and I think he's doing it well. And I think he's making difficult decisions. And I have a great deal of empathy for somebody in that spot. The economy isn't doing for him what he would want it to do. And until it does, it's very hard to have all those decisions look right. I went through that for about 1.5 years or 2 years when I was first in office, and my popularity was very, very low. And then the economy comes back, and you have $2 and $3 billion surpluses, and they think you're a genius.
Right.
And that's what's going to happen to him.
So a lot of it's beyond your control.
A lot of it is beyond your control, and you have to have the confidence to say our economy works in cycles, and I'll make the tough decisions during the tough times, and then hopefully within my span of time, which in his case is 4 years and it was mine, things are going to come back, and everything that looked bad is going to look really good.
Other than 9/11, obviously, which stands alone, what's your greatest achievement? Making a city so safe, which you did when you were mayor? Is that
I always thought the thing that I was proudest of was the spirit of the city changing. From people who in the early 1990s, 60-70% wanted to move out. They were despondent. We were on the front cover of Time magazine as the rotting of the Big Apple. By 2000, we were a city that was on the front cover of Time magazine as the city that was in Renaissance, the city that was doing well. People wanted to live in the city of New York. 60-70% wanted to stay here. I think it was the change in the spirit that is the part.
I also think people weren't afraid to walk around New York City when
and
you
that
were
helped.
mayor.
I mean,
that didn't hurt. Yeah.
If things are safe in New York City, in a way, the rest of the city sells itself. I mean, there are so many reasons to come to the city of New York. If it isn't sports, it's Broadway or museums or.
See what New York needed? They needed a mayor who was proud of New York City. And you were very proud of it, and that translates to if you're so happy about New York. Boy, I mean, not be a bad place after all. Look at that mayor; he's Mr. Pep talking about New York City.
Well, I truly, it was. Sometimes when you say it when you're in office, you think you're just saying it. I truly love New York City.
Look at this, Moose and
we got
Bauer.
your two buddies over
Moose
there.
and Bauer are giving me
heroes.
the high sign over here.
Moose and Hank Bauer,
two of the best guys in the world, too.
Were my heroes.
Moose and Bauer are the best.
And Skowron's beating the Yankees in '63. Doesn't even want to talk about that ring. He hates that. He hates that '63 ring.
Down the right field line, boom, home run. You know that? It's 4-game sweep, Moose.
I remember his grand slam home run. Was it in the '56 World Series? Did you hit a grand slam in the seventh game? Right. Yep. I remember that. And I told Bob Turley I remember how he was the hero of the 1958 World Series.
Bullet Bob Turley.
3 in a row.
That's right.
3 in a row when they were down 3-1.
They bounced back.
And I used to get into fights in Brooklyn about who was a better right fielder, Hank Bauer or Carl Furillo.
Bauer.
I used to get into a lot of fights.
You couldn't throw it as well as him.
I think
right?
I got a bloody nose once.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.